The lion never explains why he walks alone. He just keeps walking. Ascenders, welcome back to Sigma Ascends, the no-fluff zone for those who operate outside the matrix. Here, we don't chase approval. We sharpen the mind, guard the soul, and speak truths others are too scared to whisper. Today, we're dissecting one of the rawest realities out there, the emotional aftermath of a Sigma male's exit from a woman's life. He's not your average ex. He doesn't beg, he doesn't linger. He upgrades, silently, relentlessly. And when he's gone, something breaks. This isn't about bitterness or ego, it's about impact. Deep, quiet, and impossible to replace. So here are 12 brutal reasons women regret losing Sigma males. Each one a psychological punch you won't hear in soft-spoken therapy sessions or sugar-coated dating advice. And before we take the mask off, subscribe to Sigma Ascends. Because in this space, you don't just watch, you transform. 1. Ghost of the unshakable. When a woman parts ways with a Sigma male, she often expects some kind of emotional fallout, a wave of regret, a trail of messages, some kind of proof he's hurting without her. Instead, nothing. Silence, momentum, elevation. That's the first sting. Sigma males don't crumble. They reconfigure. They use pain as fuel and heartbreak as architecture. While others drown in nostalgia, the Sigma's off creating his next chapter. Quieter, sharper, better. What haunts her isn't the breakup. It's that he never looked back. He doesn't use social media to send subliminal messages. He doesn't post mysterious quotes. He just disappears, yet becomes everywhere in her thoughts. He becomes the phantom standard. Every date, every interaction, every attempt to move on, she finds herself comparing. And no one matches the vibe. No one matches the self-control, the discipline, the sheer stillness that the Sigma had. There's something about a man who doesn't beg. It disrupts her sense of power, especially if she was used to being chased, worshipped, or idolized. The Sigma didn't play that game. He wasn't just emotionally detached. He was centered. Now she's haunted by that absence. It's not loud. It's not dramatic. It's a whisper in her brain at 2 a.m. A memory she didn't ask for, a silence that won't die. And that ghost, it grows every time she meets someone who talks too much, needs too much, or breaks under pressure. She didn't lose someone who needed her. She lost someone who never did. And that's the regret that bites the deepest. 2. Freedom is addictive, and contagious. Being with a Sigma male doesn't feel like possession. It feels like liberation. He doesn't smother. He doesn't hover. He doesn't need to control her to feel safe. In a world full of insecure men wrapped in jealousy and micromanagement, a Sigma gives something rare, space, but not the kind of space that means disinterest. His space is intentional, empowering. He respects her time, her growth, her solitude, and that's what hooks her. Because when you're with someone who doesn't chain you but challenges you, who doesn't babysit but believes in your autonomy, you start to rise. You start to feel like more, like yourself. But here's the paradox. Once she leaves, she expects to carry that same freedom forward. But the world, it's full of men who want to possess, not empower. And suddenly she realizes that freedom was him. He didn't just let her be. He reminded her who she was before the world diluted her. He didn't ask her to shrink. He dared her to expand. Now, she's stuck with men who are either threatened by her ambition or try to define her path. And that's when the regret sinks in. The Sigma didn't ask her to change. He gave her room to choose growth. And no matter how many dates she goes on, no one gives her that taste of sovereignty again. Freedom isn't just addictive, it's unforgettable. And once she's lost the one man who gave it without strings, everything else feels like a cage. 3. He saw her soul, not her filter. A Sigma male is not impressed by surface-level beauty. He doesn't chase aesthetics, trends, or curated personas. What he's drawn to, what he locks into, is essence. While other men get caught up in filtered photos and social projections, the Sigma reads energy, body language, silence, wounds she hides, dreams she's too scared to say out loud. He doesn't compliment the obvious, he acknowledges the invisible. And that's exactly what wrecks her later. Because once you've been truly seen, it becomes unbearable to return to relationships built on shallow praise and false intimacy. The Sigma wasn't just dating her looks, he was dissecting her spirit. She'd never felt more known, more vulnerable, more exposed, and weirdly, more safe. At first, it was terrifying, because real connection demands real confrontation with yourself. But after him, no one sees her. They see her face, her style, her social media feed, but not the shadows in her voice or the dreams behind her eyes. And she misses it. She misses the man who noticed when her silence changed tone, who could detect fear in her ambition, who looked at her not like an object, but like a code worth understanding. That kind of intimacy is rare, and once it's gone, the artificial stuff feels like starvation. The Sigma male doesn't look, he perceives. And being perceived at that level, that's a wound and a gift she never fully recovers from. 4. Master of the unspoken game. The Sigma male doesn't play games, he transcends them. Where most people rely on manipulation, jealousy, or attention-seeking tactics, the Sigma plays the game of life with a completely different set of rules: silence, observation, and calculated detachment. At first, this drives her crazy. He doesn't react the way others do. He doesn't chase when she pulls away. He doesn't blow up her phone or get roped into emotional traps. His calmness isn't passive, it's strategic. She doesn't realize it at the time, but this calm detachment is his weapon. And what she thought was indifference, it was mastery. He doesn't need to manipulate because he already sees 3 moves ahead. He picks up on energy shifts. He knows when something's off, even when she doesn't say a word. While others argue and beg, the Sigma waits and acts when it counts. That unpredictability, addictive. She never quite knew where she stood, not because he was playing her, but because he was playing life on a level she wasn't ready for. He left room for her to reveal herself, and she did, because around him, masks crumble fast. Then he's gone, and the next guy she meets is an open book. Emotional, predictable, maybe even a little needy, and suddenly she realizes the Sigma wasn't emotionally unavailable, he was emotionally uncontrollable, and that's a completely different kind of power. She remembers the way he never had to raise his voice to command a room, how his silence said more than others' monologues. She thought she could replace him with someone easier to figure out. She didn't realize that mystery isn't confusion. It's depth, and now she's stuck swimming in shallow waters, yearning for the deep. 5. He was her mirror, not her puppet. Most men in relationships learn to bend. They edit themselves, mute their opinions, and slowly become emotional puppets just to keep the peace. But not the Sigma. He doesn't sacrifice his truth for temporary comfort. He reflects reality, cold, honest, and raw. He doesn't argue to dominate, he challenges to awaken. And that's why she felt so uncomfortable with him at times. Because he didn't always validate, he mirrored. When she was insecure, he didn't cover it up, he asked why. When she projected blame, he didn't absorb it, he redirected it back. Being with him was like standing in front of a mirror that doesn't flatter, but reveals. She grew in his presence. Not because he pushed her, but because he refused to lie to her. He didn't tell her what she wanted to hear. He told her what was real, and at the time she may have hated it. She might have called him cold or emotionally distant. But deep down she knew he saw her potential when she only saw her patterns. Now, she's surrounded by yes men, guys who nod, avoid conflict and play it safe. But safe doesn't elevate. She craves that edge again, that challenge, that reflection that made her see herself clearer than any compliment ever could. The Sigma male wasn't just a partner, he was a mirror, and no matter how far she runs, what she saw in that mirror never leaves her. 6. The quiet standard. He didn't demand attention, he earned respect. The Sigma male doesn't walk into a room with noise, he walks in with gravity. There's something about him that shifts the energy, not with words, but with presence. That kind of presence. It's a standard, a high watermark, and most don't even realize it until they meet someone without it. He didn't chase trends, he didn't follow crowds, he operated on discipline, vision, and control. He wasn't out here posting every win or flexing every move. He moved in silence, but always forward. And that's the thing she starts noticing after he's gone. Other guys, they talk big, act loud, and try hard. But it feels off, like they're performing rather than being. The Sigma never performed, he embodied. When he said something, it meant something. When he committed, it wasn't out of obligation, it was out of integrity. And that kind of alignment between words and actions is almost extinct. So now she measures every man against that unspoken standard. And no one fits. It's not about money, it's not about looks, it's about caliber. The Sigma had it, and now she's painfully aware of how rare it is. He raised the bar just by being himself. And once someone sets that bar in your life, every attempt to settle feels like self-betrayal. She didn't just lose a man, she lost a standard. And that's a hard thing to replace. 7. He didn't need her, and that made her need him. Neediness kills attraction. And the Sigma male? He's immune to need. From the beginning, he didn't orbit her. He didn't beg for attention, affection, or validation. He wasn't in her life because he had to be. He was there because he chose to be. That difference is seismic. Most men she'd met were driven by a hole they needed her to fill. Loneliness, insecurity, ego. But the Sigma had already built a fortress within himself. He was full before she arrived. Complete, grounded, that stability, magnetic. At first it frustrated her. How could he not need her? Why didn't he chase like the others? Why didn't he crumble when she pulled away? It made her feel unimportant, even invisible. But over time, she realized, it wasn't that she didn't matter, it's that he had mastered emotional self-sufficiency. And that kind of energy makes a woman crave being wanted, because it's not guaranteed. She knew he could walk at any time, not as a threat, but as a reality. He was detached, not from her, but from dependence. Now he's gone. And she finds herself with men who worship her, bend for her, cling to her. And strangely, it repels her, because it doesn't feel like power anymore. It feels like pressure. It feels like someone asking her to fix them. But the Sigma never asked her to fix anything. He didn't want a savior. He didn't want a mother. He didn't want a therapist. He wanted an equal. And now she can't stop thinking about the one man who never needed her, but made her want to be her best self anyway. That's not chemistry. That's a gravitational pull. And when she looks back, she realizes she was addicted to his lack of addiction. And now, nothing compares. 8. His silence was louder than her drama. Most people respond to emotional chaos with more chaos. Arguments escalate, words are weaponized, feelings turn into storms. But the Sigma, he responds with silence, not as punishment, but as power. He doesn't fight for the last word. He doesn't play the blame game. When things get dramatic, he doesn't lean in, he leans out. And that drove her insane, because when she tried to provoke, he stayed still. When she threw emotional punches, he didn't swing back. He disappeared into calm. That silence, it wasn't emptiness, it was discipline. It showed her that he wouldn't be baited, manipulated, or dragged into dysfunction. He wasn't emotionally absent. He was strategic with his energy. And that kind of restraint, it's a masterclass in emotional control. She may have confused it for indifference, but now she knows he was protecting his peace. He was showing her that his attention was earned, not owed. Now she's with men who match her energy in all the wrong ways, who fight back, overreact, spiral, and suddenly she misses the calm. Because chaos feeds on chaos, but dies in the face of stillness. His silence didn't mean he didn't care. It meant he cared more about peace than proving a point. And now, in a world that screams, his silence echoes louder than ever. 9. Legacy mindset, not weekend plans. The Sigma male doesn't live weekend to weekend. He's not chasing distractions or dopamine. He's building something, slowly, methodically, permanently. His life has direction, and that direction isn't guided by trends, lust, or fear. It's guided by legacy. From the way he talks about time to the way he protects it, you can feel it. He's not in a rush because he's playing the long game. And that energy, it creates a gravitational field around him. She didn't always understand it. Sometimes he was unavailable, not because he was ignoring her, but because he was in the lab, building, learning, evolving. At the time, it might have felt cold. She may have mistaken his focus for distance. But now, looking back, she sees the truth. He wasn't avoiding her. He was avoiding mediocrity. The Sigma doesn't spend time, he invests it, and being around that kind of presence makes you rethink your own path. Suddenly, petty drama feels small. Social media feels empty. Gossip dies in your throat. He made her want to build something real, not just with him, but within herself. Now she's surrounded by men who live for the next party, the next escape, the next fix. And the contrast is unbearable. The Sigma didn't just make plans, he made progress. And that mindset doesn't fade, it infects you. She misses being part of something bigger, something rooted in purpose, something that didn't evaporate Monday morning. She didn't lose a guy with a job. She lost a man with a mission. And that kind of loss lingers longer than chemistry ever could. Here's the truth they won't print on coffee mugs or sell in therapy books. A Sigma male doesn't leave. He exits your life like a storm that rebuilt you and wrecked you at the same time. You don't notice the void immediately, but over time, when the noise fades, the fakes fall off, and the masks around you crack, you realize he wasn't just different. He was rare and regret. It doesn't come from loneliness. It comes from clarity. The kind that hits at 1:43 a.m. when you scroll through memories and realize he wasn't cold, he was precise, he wasn't distant, he was disciplined. He didn't chase you because he was chasing destiny. Ascenders, understand this. The world will always tell you to tone it down, to conform, to be nicer, softer, simpler. Don't. Stay sharp, stay unpredictable, stay sovereign. Be the kind of man who's not hard to love, just hard to replace. And if this video woke something up inside you, don't just watch the movement, be the movement. Hit subscribe, fuel the algorithm with truth, and keep building your empire in silence. This is Sigma Ascends. We don't fit in, we rise above. Until next time, hold your line, speak less, move smarter, and never, ever hand your crown to someone who hasn't earned your war. Ascend, always.